Okay, hold on. Okay. Okay, so can you hear me okay if I go like this?
That's good. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, that's
So it's January 20th. It's beginning of the year. So we thought it'd be perfect time to have the hot topic be dreams and goals. And sometimes building those dreams and goals can be very overwhelming and make you almost shut down and not know where to start. At the same time as being really excited about where you want your business to go this year. So this creative happy hour is just all about talking it out and figuring out, if you need help aligning your goals and just an open conversation about it.
Yay.
Yeah, that's it.
And Jenny can't talk, so I will do some talking.
Well, I'll try to share a story that'll kind of motivate the conversation.
Yeah.
So, and Cassie, you were there for the initial idea, but in Atlanta, after the Ignite Your Passion panel that I was on, that I almost bailed on, and I didn't. Afterwards, my team and we did this awesome exercise that now I use and suggest to other DR members, and I use with my clients in trying to organize their overwhelming amount of ideas. So what we do is we take every idea and put it on a Post-it note or a note card or something. Every card gets its own idea. Then you align them by needs and wants. What do you want to do versus what do you need to do? We forget, I think, sometimes that we're small business owners and we don't have 500 people doing our jobs. So aligning the needs and wants is the first crucial step. Then what we did in Atlanta, as an example, is we made timetables. So what do we want to have done in 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, 9 to 12, and next year? As we went through the needs and wants Post-its, we aligned them into each timetable. And then we were able to see, 0 to 3 months is way too much stuff in there for our small team to do. What can we move out? And then those really cool ideas that are the wants, we're able to fill in the holes where the volume was lesser, or they moved into the next year. That practice has helped me in so many different ways in building marketing strategies and aligning brand visions. And I wanted to share, and I don't think Patrick will care, especially if it's only the two of us, 3 of us. Let me open up his. I gave him the idea. Oh, I did my whole desktop, didn't I?
There you go.
Here, let me go to this. So I gave him the idea too because he was really overwhelmed by all of his ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see he's done them by workshop. What does the workshop need to do? The business development, marketing. And so now he wants me to come in and help him figure out how do we now space these across the year and the quarter. So it's still going to take some time. It's still going to take some energy to figure out how to orchestrate our ideas. But a goal is only a dream unless you set deadlines and milestones onto it. And so taking time, hi Mallory.
Oh, I'm just waking up.
oh, that's right. It's early there. Excuse my voice.
I'm sorry you're sick.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. I just can't get anything out. But I think in the DR, in the Designers Roundtable, we've done things a little bit differently this year and helping you think about what your big juicy goal is and then breaking it down into 6-month nuggets, right? And even in that 6-month nugget, breaking it down into even smaller pieces. I mean, it's like if you want to go to see Mallory in California from Pennsylvania, you could hit the road and just go and just keep hitting west, but it might take you twice as long to get there than if you used MapQuest or something and had these stops along the way, these destination markers. Think about the idea of, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? If you don't know how long it takes you to get there, you're going to get really impatient and frustrated and you're going to fizzle out. And then that big idea you had that you knew was attainable just goes to crumbles because you didn't plan right. You didn't plan effectively or efficiently or proactively. So that's my little inspiration nugget to have the roundtable of the Creative Happy Hour right now start of how are you working on your dreams and goals, and are you having any struggles or challenges or just anything you want to share about it? And I'm going to drink some tea.
I'll start if you want, because I did this exercise sort of already. First of all, I started with a coach last year that Jenny, first of all, after that session at How, I was so envious. I'm like, I want someone to do this in my business. Like, hello, this is amazing. We had Post-it notes everywhere and organized, and it was fantastic. So actually I worked with a coach at the end of last year that did almost this exact same method, but she walked me through it with questions. So she's like, what do you do? And I answered her, how do you do it? Like, what do you mean? In what way? And she like prompted me. So basically she was trying to get me to say the buckets in which my business must like runs and what I need to do in order to make it run. So like there's an education bucket, and there's the proper team around you bucket, and then there's the financial bucket and all those things. So, and then after that, we put those like tasks under each of those. I wish I had a picture of that, because that was awesome, an awesome day. But I will, do you think it's going to be just us? Because I don't want to share it with anyone else.
Or is this going to be posted? That's the
Yeah,
question.
Well, so far it's just us. So if it's just us, I'm just going to put it in our membership portal.
Okay.
If we get outside people, what I can do is I'll just trim it to when they came in. Okay.
Okay. Great. So
it's 12:16. I don't think anybody's going to come.
okay. If it's just us, I totally don't mind sharing, but I'll share with you guys.
Yeah.
So basically this metrics document here is what we came up with. So each of the color coordinated things were the buckets. So we had it like Patrick did, with the sticky notes on the wall, and we organized it that way. So these are the buckets, be visible and educate, create leads, and then keep clients, gain referrals. Those are the ways my business runs. You scroll down, hire the right team, make money for the Burkich family. So that's the financial part. Education and research. And then, okay, there we go. And then she even allowed me to do work-life balance. So I wanted to do some personal stuff too.
Dates.
So the cool thing about this is it allows me to track. So like I'm tracking month to month now, and it allows me to see the trends. But this was daunting to me. So this was too much. I was like, this is crazy. I can't handle this. So what I did was created this little document that allowed me to track the weekly and the daily goals. Because the monthly stuff and the quarterly stuff I can stay on top of, but the stuff that I have to do day to day is the stuff that I really wanted to write down. So I kept the color coordination, and I brought in, all of the colors by theme. And then I just track every day exactly what I'm doing. And here's my monthly goal. And here's what's actually happening.
Sure.
So I love this. This was super great. And then on top of it, I'm so excited about the DR this year because it allowed me to think about 6 months of that goal. And I still like to do, and Jenny, we started this last year, or the year before maybe, but I like to do themes still for the quarters. Yes. So I like to do Q1, the theme is organization because it's January. Q2, the theme is marketing, and Q3 is finance. I don't know about 4 yet. But it allows me to compartmentalize. So if there's a great tip that I'm reading about marketing or a great tip about finances, I just throw it into an email folder and I don't touch it until those quarters,
It's just kind of how like Rochelle used to talk about that natural rhythm of like my day, Friday is bookkeeping. So even as bills and shit come in, I just put it to this pile over here, and I know Fridays is the day to deal with it. They don't have to interrupt me the rest of the week. So it's
because
just sometimes quarterly, you get all these ideas, and it just can be.
It's too much. And sometimes, it's a 5-minute task, but it takes you off track for 30 minutes because you're in a zone, and then you're out of the zone, and then you have to get back in. It takes a long time. So that helped me tremendously. So I have a big whiteboard, but it's downstairs of what I'm doing each quarter, and it's on the DR spreadsheet anyway, but that helped me tremendously. And then like having that backbone of that metrics spreadsheet I showed you guys allows me to, even though I'm not doing marketing until Q3 or finance until Q3, I'm obviously still tracking like my finances and stuff now. I'm just not doing anything new. So I have that metrics as a basis, and then I can add new things in Q3.
Cassie, was that with Jenny or somebody else?
That was with Helen.
Helen.
I might have mentioned it. Helen is the coach I started working with. She actually came to us for web design and I started working with her. She is the perfect combination of like analytics and tracking and numbers and to-do lists like I like, and kind of like the dreamer mentality, but she's more of a numbers gal, which I like.
I just signed a contract yesterday with Jenny Carlson to
Good.
do the financials for creatives, because my word is profitability. And I never would have said that before until Elise in How in Atlanta was like, why are you so afraid to talk about profit? And I said, because I don't, whether it's business or DR side, and for you guys, I'm mostly focusing on Presque Isle side because DR already has a team that does it. But to me, profit means I take my kids to Disney. Profit. Mm-hmm. And she's like, no. Profit is covering your time and expenses. Mm-hmm. You know, and when she said it that way to me, I was like, oh.
You're going to love her. She's great. And I just talked to her yesterday and I said the same thing. I'm going to hire you because I'm always picking her brain and she's picking mine. So we have a good relationship right now, but I want to for real hire her eventually in Q3 maybe. But that's true because, so I met with someone this year that's a friend that has a business as well. And we did the same thing. We first started, we're like, look, we're here to make money. That's what we're here to do. What would you do with your money? And we wrote down everything. And as women, we started out with like charity and blah, 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 blah. And then we got down to like what we really want to do. I want to go get a massage and I want to buy organic vegetables. Like, this is crap, you know? And so we need to remind ourselves of that. It's okay to make a lot of money. You can do whatever you want with your money. You know what I mean? So if you would do good with your money, then do good with your money, you know? So it's annoying that we as women hesitate to say we want to make money.
It is. It just kind of goes along that same line of women having a hard time saying the awesomeness that they do. Mm-hmm. You know, and I've been networking, Heidi Kerner, with some men lately, right? Which I've never had a problem talking to men. But I don't know. I've had this totally coming at you as Presque Isle Designs, Jenny, not DR person. Like in Erie, I've had, we're definitely going to keep this in the DR membership. in the DR, in Erie, I've had a hard time tapping into groups of people to show them what I can do, whether it's on the Presque Isle side or like all the things with How and the retreat and like all the DR stuff. I have a hard time telling people about that stuff. When I've met with some men lately, I'm like, okay, this might sound arrogant, but I just want to tell you some highlights of things that I've done. And they're like, look at me like, what? And then I'll go through it and I talk about Nashville and I talk about, Atlanta and the Ignite Your Passion thing and how we're going to go to New York and I have international member, like that kind of crap. I'm like, it just feels uncomfortable. It's just arrogant. And the guys are like, no, bring it. Bring it up.
Yeah, and they never start. And have you ever heard a guy start a sentence like that?
No.
I'm sorry to brag, but we didn't tell you what's going on. Sorry.
I've seen that at my networking group, my Toastmasters, not networking, my Toastmasters group. The guys come in and I noticed how they can brag about certain accomplishments I would never think about bragging about.
Right.
And so I learned, just like the year I was president, and I would never say this, but I learned it from them. The year I was president, we hit the top club in the district, which is like, I don't know, over 200 clubs or something. I would never think about bragging, but then I realized those guys would exactly take that and brag. They know how to just pump it up. And I learned it from them. The women just go like this, don't say anything, myself included. And the guys just, they're just there and they're just putting it out there. And it was.
And the fact that we even call it bragging is alarming because no guy would ever call it bragging. They would just say,
because guys always like to one up each other, like, oh, you scored 12 the other day. I scored 18.
Yeah.
And then that guy who scored 12, he's like, I'm going to go get 20, and it's motivating each other.
And it's funny because I'm raising a son and I'm raising a daughter. And my son is like, I did that twice as fast as you, Mom. And I'm like, you little jerk. Like, and he would never think he's being pompous or cocky ever, and he just like his friends constantly one-upping each other and they love it, And so I don't know whether to stop it or not, but it's interesting.
Well, hey, listen, thank you for sharing how you've broken down your year into these quarters and these themes for your focus for each quarter. I've even written it down myself. I think that's like this board behind me is my rough draft of delineating my focus each month, but that's daunting, you know, and to think about a quarter, like even just wheels. I put wheels and team for me because I just did my last 2 interviews for that assistant yesterday. And I came home because Jim, you all met Jim. He hires people all the time. So I went home and I'm like, Jim, I told you the first girl, I loved her. And you made me interview more people just to validate that that first person was the right one. And he said, well, that's not really what I said, but okay. And I'm like, but now I like all 3. Now, how am I going to decide? So I had them all do a test, just a real basic, like if I'm going to, the one was client needs to order business cards of the logo we just designed. Can you send them a spreadsheet to collect everybody's information, like how many versions of cards and what needs to go on each card? Because each time I'm like, I just tell people, and I wish I could just have that spreadsheet template for them to use. So all 3 did it, and it blows my mind. Like one girl did it in Numbers, one girl did it in Excel, and one girl did Google Drive. And all 3 were very different, but only one put my logo on it. So which one do you think got my attention more? You know?
That's awesome.
Right? And it just like, I don't know, like everything is going back to this one girl. So I think I've made my decision, but now it's like all that structure of, how do I say, I loved you other 2. But anyway, back to my point of, from what you've said, you've inspired me to look at Q1 as I put wheels, because I like to talk about greasing the wheels. So if all the cogs are greased well, everything's going to work well together. So getting that girl in place, getting her desk, getting her in motion. So my task can go down and I can focus on the bigger nuggets. And then I love how you said buckets. You know, I've worked on my business model a lot over the years, and I think I finally have honed in on one that feels comfortable in all realms, and to look at them as buckets now. Maybe it's just knowing how buckets, I don't know, work. But like having that educational bucket, those are my workshops. You know, I have 4 planned for the year. And
when you work with Jenny, she'll make you budget for education and budget for that kind of stuff, which is really great. Because she says you should be spending whatever your budget is, not like don't spend more. She'll convince you to spend enough.
Right? So you just helped me figure out my 4th bucket. So really it's going to be Q1 team, Q team financials, because Jenny's a 6-month contract. Q3 market the buckets. Oh wait, where's 4? I need a 4th bucket. I need a 4th thing. Oh, define buckets, then market buckets, maybe. No, I don't know. At least I got half of the year done.
And Jenny's a great collaborator too. So even if you wanted to talk to her almost as a coach to help you define those buckets, I know it's not what you're hiring her for, but she probably would chat about that with you. She's
already pushed me about the whole speaking thing, and I say people yell at me and scold me and that kind of thing. I really mean that in a nice way. But like her and the new accountant, they're like, why are you bringing in these guest speakers to do stuff? Why don't you just do it? And I'm like, because she knows what she's talking about. And they're like, but you know what you're talking about. And it's just like when Shannon, like I'll never forget, like a year ago. And it's had to been more than a year ago. And that was when I was just starting to let go of design and really latching on to marketing. And I was really having a hard time with that transition. And she was like, yeah, Jenny, because your 15 years of experience count for nothing.
Yeah. Don't qualify you for anything. And then Shannon pushed you into speaking and coaching. You listen to that girl.
I know.
Isn't that Shannon Shields?
Right? Shannon. Okay. All right. So thank you for those nuggets of quarterly focuses. How about you other lovely ladies? How are dream and goals working with you? Where are your highs, lows, struggles, plans, whatever you want to share?
Cricket.
Yeah, right.
Finally unmute. The dog, now that we're upstairs, the dogs can see out the window and they're going to go crazy. So
it's okay.
Yeah, so for goals, definitely a different mindset this year. So it's great. Partially because I think the way Jenny described breaking down goals this year and thinking about what can you actually accomplish. So, if you only have like 4 to 6 hours a month, what can you realistically do? So that really changed the way I set. Where did I go?
You're fine.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, you're fine.
And I like the big juicy goal, although I have to admit my big juicy goal is still a little undefined. And what I'm working toward is going to be relevant, I think, regardless, but I think it's going to have to kind of come into play as I don't know, okay, I'll start from the beginning. So here's my current juicy goal, which could change, which is I really like working solo in terms of I don't have employees. I like being in charge. I think I have an issue with handing things off, control, things like that. So I don't have aspirations to build this into an agency or any kind of thing. At this point, I realize that could very well change down the road. But at this point, I'm not ready to let go of the strings. Possibly subcontractors. I'm getting more comfortable with that idea, and I've kind of used a few to date. But so that's where I'm saying my goals are undefined, just because I feel like that could change over time. But in order to continue growing my business, strengthening it, I really want to be very niche as far as what I do. So I really got to get my financial shit together, which is one of my goals this year, in order to grow, because I don't know exactly what's coming in and out. And I don't know how to put, like I said, I wouldn't know how to invest in subcontractors and things like that, because I don't exactly know what that spread is. And so to move to the next level, I really have to get that settled. And I also want to think about changing my business from, right now it's a sole proprietorship. So the only I would love to do an LLC, but that doesn't exist in Canada, unfortunately. So my next level would be to incorporate the business. And that's a whole other ballgame in terms of, the way you file taxes, the way you move money in and out. And so I feel like to get to that level, I need to get stuff sorted out beforehand with financials. So that's my goal this year. Maybe next year I'll look at stepping it up. Also in terms of stepping it up, obviously profitability is on my mind now. I did raise my rate this year, which is exciting. But again, I don't have a defined rate per se. So that's also something I want to really hammer out is better rate sheets, at least from this end, from a time saving, perspective. But, and then also increase the speed at which I do things. So I just want to get better and better at InDesign is actually the program I use most these days. So just investing in education and making the time to learn all those tips and tricks. I feel like I know quite a bit, but I know there's a lot more out there that could probably be saving me hours. And so, profitability, less time. So it's all part of this big, long goal. But like I said, right now it's just me in my juicy dream. That sounds weird. In my big juicy goal. But it could change, but I think all these changes I'm working toward will still be very relevant if I decide to expand the business. So
I think that's the beauty of the big juicy goal. Like I was doing kind of like what you're doing, and like all these little things that are kind of eating away at me and becoming like these mini goals. And then I realized my big juicy goal is to have the business run without me. So, and not all the time, but I want it to run smooth without me. So all these little things I'm doing, improving the process and, marketing and doing all these little things along the way are because I want to have their business run without me. So if you have that goal of profitability, then there's so many different little tasks you can do along the way that reach you toward that goal.
This is why I like the exercise of all the note cards and the Post-its and organizing them out, because you may have a ton of ideas, like of working solo versus ideas that are pulling you into subcontracting, all these different things. And just like we've heard Jim Krause and others say, you got to get it out of your head and onto paper. And just like I showed with Patrick's, you've got to kind of see them visually. And then just to what you've said about you only have so much time per quarter, per month, or whatever to do. So this is like, let's say, Nadine, you did this exercise, and I keep referring to it because I know it works on the many different levels. But let's say you dumped all your ideas out, we put them across a 12-month calendar, and then had next year stuff.
Mhm.
I would then say to you, what feels good and what makes you uncomfortable? And almost then push you of what's going to make you money? Like, do you need to make money? Like, you may be in a situation where you don't need to make more money. I don't know. But like, just questioning those things will help you balance those milestones. You know, like if you need to get money now and you only have so much time, then you have to go this route. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
But it's like,
It makes your decision making easier if you
Yeah,
know
thanks.
like the hierarchy of what you need to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in dire straits by any stretch, but I kind of flatlined this last year, and I was surprised because I felt like I worked a lot more,
Mhm.
and that was kind of the trigger to like, clearly I'm not charging enough, or maybe I'm spending too much time somewhere else that I could be. So it's really just trying to get that sorted out, and I'd like.
I actually feel the same way, Nadine. I worked my ass off, I felt like, and then I looked at the end of year and I'm like, the top line raised a little, but the bottom line actually went down. And I was like praying for a flat line. It actually was lower, and I was really like surprised and devastated.
Yeah.
So I feel the same way. It's like something's got to give. Like I've got to spend less money or something.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No,
so I've been
and
working on
listen,
finances a lot.
and I think part of it was my billing, but still it wouldn't have been a big issue. The ones that I haven't billed out from, I don't know, I'm not really great at billing it by projects. Some of them just go on forever, and then you bill at the end, and then, last year's earnings are kind of like coming in. I haven't even billed for it yet.
Yeah.
But still, it wouldn't have made a big jump, I don't think, between last year and the year before. So that's why I was like, I have to be smarter with how I'm spending my time, who I'm spending my, which clients I'm taking on, which projects I'm taking on.
You know what really, along with that, like when you do take on the projects, you choose which ones to take on. I started last year incorporating timelines into every project. So I would tell a client when I work with them, oh, that'll take about 8 weeks. And then I'm just like, I set a calendar, but I never really share it with them. It was more like an internal thing. So I started giving them a timeline that they have to approve with dates in it before we start. And it included invoices.
Okay.
So it would say like April 12th, that's 25% invoice. And then the 25% on May 5th or whatever it might be. And they had to approve that in advance. And then I set up the automatic billing right then and there. So unless I'm delayed, they're paying that payment no matter what.
What happens to that schedule when they delay it?
I give them 2 weeks to delay it, and then I start charging them. In theory, I haven't done it yet.
Because I tried that in the past, and I've had clients go MIA. Or they have excuse after excuse after excuse, and
I let a couple excuses. I'm not going to be super super strict, but I still send the invoice, and they have so far have still paid it, even if they're delayed. And I told them, basically, it's a theme for me. So when we start the project, part of the welcome message says, like, we live and breathe by our schedule. This is where our schedule is the bloodline of our business. We will go to all ends of the earth to make our deadlines, and we expect you to do the same. So it's part of every verbiage that I send out.
That's really nice.
It's kind of like becoming a theme. Like, look, if you don't respect these deadlines, then don't work with us.
No, that's good.
That's why I like retainers, because retainers to me help me balance my time and my capacity, and knowing that if I haven't totally figured out my volume capacity for this year, based on the new retainer packages that I made. But I know ideally when I think about managing somebody's company, somebody's marketing and branding for a company, I feel like my capacity is really like four companies at a time. And so like 4 retainers of some kind of variety of sizes depending on their budget. But and then knowing that, let's say those 4 companies equals, I think I read somewhere my accountant said you really have 163 hours a month of time. And so I figured if I have 4 clients at like at 80 hours a month, then I have 80 hours capacity of other projects. And that's where my manifesto with Rochelle was, and this was a couple years ago, was to be in high demand with low availability. And she said to me, what does that mean? And I'm like, I don't want to have a ton of people. I don't want to just keep grinding shit out. Like, that just feels exhausting. I just want to have this handful and charge them what I want to charge them, or what I feel like that can be misleading. Charge them the real, true
What you're worth.
valued rate,
Yeah.
right? The worth, and then have this waiting list of people that want one of those 4 spots. I heard that on a podcast before, and how that they said they would not, if a client they were done. Let's just say they just didn't need them anymore. They would open it up to that wait list and say, we're ready for you. We're ready for you. We're going to interview you. And it was almost like the agency putting on a client of, do you want to be in this spot?
Yep.
And this is how we work. So if you're ready, just know that if you don't accept, I don't remember if he said today or this week or whatever the time frame was, just know that we're interviewing 2 other people to pay us to be in this spot.
Yeah.
And I was
Absolutely.
like, that is exactly what I want, because going into this, I'm calling it chief branding officer anymore. To be somebody's chief branding officer, like, they have to be ready to work with me. And when they work with me, it's usually meaning they have to have their shit together.
Yep.
Because, and not, again, here's the woman in me, not to sound arrogant, but when you work with me, I'm going to fill your sales funnel. And if you're not ready to convert that sales funnel, you're just wasting my time and your money. So you got to be ready.
And I've been asking that too. When they accept my proposal, look, we're ready to get started January 8th. Are you ready then as well? So we'll, I shared with you guys just part of my welcome message. And hopefully, like, it's just basically, that's the welcome message they get within Basecamp. So it has helped, like I said, it's right. It's what we show them right from the beginning. So
that's good. One thing I learned.
Feel free to steal it. You can have it.
I typically lay out a timeline for the 99% of projects, but it's always that one sneaky one that seems to get in. Like, oh, it's gonna be quick, and then
it'll be easy.
Like off and on. I'm like, I like this, and then you're trying to get it back on the timeline, right? So
So what I started doing.
Luckily, it's only like a couple of projects at a time that happen to be that way, but it's it really.
And I think that goes back to us, like, downsizing what we do. If we only do logo design and brand design, or whatever it, and web design or whatever it is, then you can easily templatize those offerings. So as a part of our proposal now, we do the entire process and how long each stage takes. And then we take that exact process when they sign the proposal and give them exact dates. So they know, and I started using Basecamp more thoroughly, where all those dates are in Basecamp. Anytime we schedule the meetings up front and everything, and they know exactly where we're going to be. It's been working so far.
Good. One thing I learned on the last project I did that was the biggest disaster of that's ever happened in our our business, but whatever, is it was a board and they met every month. So the timeline, and there's like 7 people. It was just incredibly horrible. But anyway, what I learned is we were doing the contract on, they would pay us when they picked their like final logo or whatever. And when they couldn't pick the final logo, I realized that's the stupidest thing in the contract. It has to be, they're getting invoiced when the final logos are being presented. Because you're sitting and you're waiting for someone, a group, to pick a logo, and no one agrees on anything.
That's exactly what we used to do. Like, once they approve. Yeah. And actually, I've taken it one step further to say, like I said, my invoice is connected to a calendar date, not a stage date. It happens to fall at the presentation of the logo, but if they throw me off track, that invoice is still going out on that date, no matter what.
Makes sense. Otherwise, you're just sitting at their mercy. You have no leverage. Hi, Milka. No leverage at all, because it's in the contract.
Yeah, Mallory, I do a $500 deposit when they sign on to do a logo. Then when I give them the first round of concepts, I get another $500. My logos are $1,500, like for average.
Yeah.
So $500 to start, $500 when I show them black and white concepts.
Yeah, that was another one that we did. I saw for the first time, to start with the black and white, and we've been doing this logos for years. I never saw the black and white.
The color, what I found with color is that people get too honed in on color and not worried about what it means.
It's amazing. Yeah, that
Yeah.
black and white was another thing that we added in. We'll add in.
Yep. And then when I share them, I make a library and their brand guidelines and share it in Dropbox. And when right before I do that, I send them the final invoice.
And that's pretty much what I do. Although Jenny, I was doing the same thing you were doing with the invoices. I was doing either quarters or thirds. And my last coach was like, why are you doing that? I'm like, well, it just comes down to the fact that I trust the money in my client's hands more than I trust it in mine. And when I came to that realization, because you're like, I said it out loud. I'm like, oh, like, because I was afraid I would spend it, or I would afraid I wouldn't earmark it for whatever. And I realized that, so I take 50% now, and then 25 and 25.
We've always done 50%.
Yeah, and that's interesting because and also another step was he was like, you need your clients to be more invested. If they've put 50% down at that point, they're going to feel like they want to respond to you right away and keep on track. And it has worked a little bit better.
So do you say a 50% non-refundable deposit?
I don't even say those words because nothing is refundable. Because design is so, it's so,
I know, but that's the pushback I've gotten on logos of, well, what if I don't like the concepts?
I've never had that question ever.
I've had it. And I said, well, this is why I put you through the discovery process, where it used to be a worksheet that I just gave to them.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like, I've been talking to them because they don't know the answer to some of these questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I do my homework, it's very rare. I think only one time have I had a client not like what I've done.
Like what you did. Yeah.
This is what I had this last time, but it was with a group. I've never worked with so many people. And next time, if this ever happens again, I'm going to say, I've had this experience before. You're never going to come to a consensus with 7 people. You have to have someone who's going to head the thing and it's going to make the decisions, or 2 people, because otherwise it was such a bad experience. It was so draining.
Mm-hmm. That's so horrible.
It was horrible. And no one could agree on anything.
Yeah, I like to stipulate one person, if it's a group, one person communicates with you directly.
It wasn't even the communication. Everyone can't have the equal vote, because it's like someone wants a colonial house, someone wants a French modern, someone wants this. Everyone has too many different tastes. And it came down to a power struggle within. It was amazing.
I know we're getting off topic of goals and that, but just maybe no, it's okay. I'll say this one thing, Mallory, maybe you and I can talk about it later. Is I just had the same kind of experience by doing a United Methodist church, and they had to do with their board. And so on this board, they had young people and older people. They had very traditional parishioners and very new wave parishioners. And I could see the red flags right away, like to what you just said. So what I had them do is that they paid another $1,800. And I brought in a facilitator who does this. It's a method called strategic thinking hats or something, some kind of facilitating process that walks them through defining their vision, mission, and core values and what their immediate goals are for the parish. And when they are all on that same page, now when we did the branding, any conflict we got was justified or defended against this vision, mission, core value thing that they did. So that old guy that was like, we always do it this way. Well, remember, Bob, we said in this strategic plan where we all work together, we're doing it this way.
Yep.
Just shut them up.
But that doesn't even cover, from what I saw, the different tastes it's too subjective with design, because we went through that whole thing. I mean, everything hit every single metric, and it's
too subjective. Exactly. You can't win. I mean,
it's totally unwinnable. And so anyway.
And that's the thing. And that's where you go back and forth with, they hired you for your expertise.
Yeah, exactly.
If they wanted a monkey to do design, then they could have sketched their own idea. And there's some designers, and I'm not saying I'm one of them, but there's some designers that only produce one logo. Like, I give you my best logo. Here's my option. This is what you hired me for.
Like Paul Rand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My even lesser known do the same thing. But I don't know. I can't narrow it down enough, because that's my problem. But
that's not what we do. But after having the year of the medical stuff, and my goal now is just I'm a creative, and my business partner, who's now after that project is like, she doesn't even know she wants to be in this business, because it was other family things going on at her.
Draining.
yeah, her husband's going to be getting another, they're going to move. So we'll have to see everything. And I thought, my business thing, my goal is I want to do the creative work. I mean, I want to be able to be involved more in that than just the marketing, because that's all I was doing was the marketing, and I'm a creative. So I don't even care how many I want to be profitable, but I don't even care how many projects I get right now. I want quality of life. I don't want to go through something like that again. It's not worth it to me.
Yeah, that was horrible.
Projects I like, because I love to create. I love to help people. And I don't want to deal with that kind of stuff. But I do want to, when I thought that I wasn't going to be doing design anymore, because she wasn't going to be, I didn't know if I'd be doing the business. I had to really think, I really do want to do design. I love design.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing I want to give up. I'll figure out how to do it because it's in my blood. But for my thing, my goals are just, I want to do things that I like to do. And I changed my word also to happy, which was April's word, instead of be prepared. I was like, life's too precious. It's just way too short. It's too precious. Yeah. I want to be happy. I want to be happy with what I'm doing.
That's awesome.
Not in a situation where I have to be making a heap load of money, I've realized, So I'm just going to try to be pickier and enjoy the process.
That's why I love the word of the year. Because like I was saying to Nadine, like with your big juicy goal, like the word of the year just like solidifies like what you want to feel and how you want this year to go. And it makes it easier to align everything else around it, And then you could say like the happy, maybe happy is making your business run smoother by doing a process, so it all ties together.
Prepared is just one level. Happy is above that. I'm happy if I'm prepared.
Exactly.
I want to be happy. I don't want to be stressed. I want to enjoy. I mean, life is a gift. You can't just go, it's just last year was too much of a learning curve. It's like, totally new perspective. Sorry.
Yeah. Good for you.
I read this book the other day because I feel like working with entrepreneurs all the time that are all in it for the money, like they just want to load up their accounts, which I respect to a degree, but that's just not me. Like Jim and I are not material, like we don't lavish things, so when I was reading this book, it was just like even a nonfiction book, right? Like, and the girl said, to me, success is when life is balanced between work and my personal life. And that was so true to me. And so, like even moving out of the home office and into here, like to still be mom and still be business, all like that whole thing where I think last year it was like a teeter-totter, right? And that's why I think profitability is my word, because I can manage, like last night we had 2 doubleheader basketball games and another basketball practice, so you can be mom, but it's like, I still want to be, so just to have that balance so I can pay for the extra basketball camps or whatever, whatever it is. So like my accountant is the guy that's like wants the bank, he wants to fill that account up. And I'm like, I respect that and all, but I just want to be happy and I want to do good. I want to do good in business and I want to do good as mom and wife. Jim always gets the back half of that.
Aww.
He's like, what about me? Remember when you said I would always be first? I'm like, yeah, I don't remember that.
Nice guy. He's really great.
Oh, thank you. So how about Janine or Yamilka or Mallory? How are you feeling about your goals and dreams, looking for?
I think for me that parlays of what I wanted to do. My word is holistic, but I really wanted to take a step back and I wanted to focus on me personally, not so much stuff for my business, even though I will work on that, but and I've expressed the physical activity stuff that I need to do at the moment because of my hip issue. So more like getting more of a balance of myself, getting more physically fit if I can, so I have a little more stamina to do some things I want to do. Not neglecting my business, but I also want to be more involved in my community. So I belong to the Small Business Chamber and I sit on the committee and they want to kind of get the community involved. So I proposed a 1-day seminar and we're kind of going down that track and I created a survey for them. And so I'm really focusing in hindsight on getting my name out there And so attending more networking events and kind of building the relationships. I think because I've moved around so much, it's hurt me building relationships in different places I've lived. So I've been here about 3, maybe 4 years, something like that. And so I think I'm just starting to see some kickback from that, which is nice. But for me, I wanted to focus on the personal stuff right now. Aside from that, I'm thinking about adding like an art and design to my website, where I would. I used to have a website that had photography and my watercolor painting, so I want to grow that and put that under my website, and then add like some poster stuff I've been doing for the city and kind of growing that aspect. So even though I'm working on my business, I'm trying to get that balance that I need in other areas of my life. And I think building those relationships kind of is my goal, at least for now, that I want to solidify and kind of see how focusing on something else rather than solely my business, even though it's a part of it, can kind of help me expand a little bit in my outreach, so to speak. Plus, I'm reading Profit First, and the financial part of that is also something I'm working on, which is great. I love that book. So I'm working through that a little bit too. So in hindsight, I think that's kind of where I am right now.
That's where I think, like, when personal life gets just daunting, like your physical situation and all those things, I don't think we give ourselves enough credit of how exhausting those can be. And I remember, it was right after my dad died, and we had just started fostering that kid, and Bella was only like 12 weeks old. I went to this coach, and I'm like, okay, I got to do this, and I got to do that, and I got to do this, and this, and this, and this. And she's like, Jen, your plate's like really full, right? And I'm like, she's like, you just went, your mom, and then your dad, and then your Bella, and then this. And I'm like, hey, yeah, but I got to do business. I got to keep making money. I got these opportunities in my way, and da-da-da. And she's like, you don't have to do them now. Like, you have to take care of yourself. And but if I don't do them now, I'm going to lose this, and I'm going to do that. I had all this pressure on me that if I didn't take the opportunity to spin that the way it was in front of me. And she's the one that kind of like a Shannon punched me in the gut and said, you don't have to do it right now. And she said, I know you're afraid that if you don't do it now, things could crumble and you won't be able to be where you are. But that's not true. You need to nurture yourself. And when you're ready, then to take on these other things, come back and we'll do it. But the world is not going to end, and nothing's going to crash when you need to take care of yourself. And
that's exactly the way I felt, Jenny. I felt like I needed to take a break because even though I was kind of struggling with growing my name in a new area, I felt like I was constantly doing the business end of it. And I felt like I needed to kind of breathe again. Yeah. And so taking a step back and kind of focusing on more of a personal with some stuff in business is kind of, as you described it, where I was. I just needed to kind of breathe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's true. We have to give our permission to do that, but it's scary when that side of you that's fighting that to turn off is the side that wants the income to come in so you can be okay. And it comes back to that feast or famine kind of feeling, it's hard.
And when you're in that rut, it's hard to turn it off because you're constantly thinking in that direction. You can't almost separate it because your mind is so focused in one direction. So.
Thank you all in advance for taking all the surveys we always throw at you, but we want your data so badly. But one of the things you all said in that one thing is that the hardest part about being an entrepreneur, creativepreneur, whatever you want to call yourself, is that it's really hard to turn it off. It's really hard to turn that brain off. And I think even for me as that kind of person, because it's hard for me to turn it off, to see that everybody else has a hard time turning it off, helped me realize I got to turn it off. And so like after that networking event with Heidi, where I should have been thinking about small talk and getting cards, all those things she talked about, which was very valuable. I brought home 3 cards. I had just worked 2 weeks of all-nighters and kids being sick, and then I was in bed last weekend, and I just had 3 glasses of wine and kicked my heels off. I just gave my permission to just turn it off, and it's hard, and then I was careful. And I was like, oh, I've had 3 glasses of wine, which my tolerance is really low anymore. And like somebody was asking me about business, and I'm like, let me get your card. We'll talk about that later. But anyway, thank you for sharing, Janine. Yamilka, you look beautiful. I hope you're not driving and looking beautiful and talking on this call at the same time.
No, I'm actually parked. I'm in the city. Fridays are my city days. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, so I'm out here and doing
You
what I
look
do.
beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
Beautiful.
much. It's just a lipstick.
Oh, you look
Thank
beautiful.
Thank you. So, I love this whole thing about goals. I'm kind of a bit, I don't know what to do. So my word is target. And the reason I got target was because I want to really specifically target non-storyboard jobs, and I have opinions about how to move along with that. But, Joe has different opinions. And, one of the things that we've been sort of struggling with is my blog, which is driving me bananas because I'm trying to find new material. And everything I sort of come up with, Joe is kiboshing because of fear, and I get it. I understand our clients are very temperamental and they don't want to know that Joe's working with one director. They want to feel like they're the only client. And I'm sure that's how it is with any industry. But it really, like we have one of our top tabletop directors, which basically it means people who work with food. He's one of like 5 in the world who directs like most of, like, you see a Bud Light commercial and the way the water the drink sort of swishes. Anyway, he's the one who directs this. We haven't heard from him in 6 months. And we got to think, he's wondering if it's because we blogged about something and we're favoring this one other client. And we're going to celebrate 15-year anniversary this year. We're very excited. And I thought, excellent opportunity to talk about how we've been doing this for 15 years. And we've been doing Super Bowl commercials. And we literally just finished, we just did a Bud Light commercial that's going to be featured on the Super Bowl. And we're like, great, I'm going to blog about it, Yeah. And I actually reached out to, I have, Val, who's awesome, and I've been meaning, I'm reaching out to him. And I'm like, okay, I want him to write a blog, and now I'm thinking, I kind of presented it to Joe, and Joe was just like, yeah, no. And I'm thinking, why? No, he's just like, no, we can't go around saying how we do amazing jobs when a director might, when another director is probably just a very small job, and we don't want to alienate that director. And I don't know what my goals are. I don't know where I'm going because it's, I am partnered up with Joe and I love him. He's my husband, and I see his point of view, but I feel like, no, this is a great opportunity. I should tell people we are working on Super Bowl commercials, darn it. We have been for the past 15 years. And I was even willing to kind of put a quote from one of our directors who says, Joe's the best. We've been doing Super Bowl commercials since 2002, which will show that it's been 15 years. But anyway, we have this one director who hasn't reached out to us in 6 months, and we're wondering if it might be because, Joe is just so busy, and he has so much work anyway. Why does he need my commercial? Why does he need to work for me? I would just get my own storyboard artist, Anyway, so I'm kind of struggling with that. I want to target these directors. I want to target, and that's my word, non-storyboard work as well, but I don't want to alienate while I'm targeting.
So Yamilka, why don't you just kind of phrase it in the sense that we work with lots of different people. This is one of the highlights of what we've done. You know what I mean? You still want to tout what you do and you want to get credit for the big projects you work on. But if you say it in an inclusive way, that this was maybe a project we featured this year, but we work with a lot of different types of businesses, it doesn't sound as big. You know what I mean? Or if you highlight small projects versus big projects, and I would certainly reach out to that director. I mean, if you have a good working relationship with them, it's probably, worth doing. But I mean, having written me newsletters, I tend not to hold a whole lot back. I mean, it's the type of work I do, and people are either going to like you and you're going to build those relationships or not. And I don't look at anybody taking anything personally that, is written if I write a specific project, because you want to show and you want to tout what you do, but at the same time, you don't want to downplay it either. So if you say it where you've done small and large and include different projects, that's more inclusive. And that's just my 2 cents. But
Okay, so feature several talk about, okay. Oh, this is so, because it's just like, it's such an awesome,
yeah, I would not, in my personal opinion, like I said, in my letters, I would, if I've done a particular project I'm proud of, I just put it out there. And so even though you have a bigger project, I mean, now's kind of a nice time to do it because the Super Bowl's coming up and you can kind of tout it. And maybe the rest of the year you talk about maybe smaller projects you've done. So It gives you credibility, but it gives you that balance.
Right.
Kind of what I was thinking too, because even like thinking of them, as Cassie said earlier, buckets, like I want to work with people who have $100,000 marketing budget a year, and I know that they're at this price point, but there are a ton of small business owners that spend less than $10,000 a year, but they still need my help too. So to position myself as, I really like, if you want to go here, I can help you, but I also help you folks over here too, because I care about you. So I don't know if there's a way to kind of take that roadmap and say, yeah, we've done Super Bowls and we've done, these elite things, but listen, we still love you, small or director, like, I don't know who they are, right? But we still love this stuff too. And maybe that's a video campaign that Joe can say something like, we're so honored to have won this award, and we're so grateful to have doing these elite projects. But we also love and spout out some of the smaller people project things, and maybe there's a way to find a balance. I mean, I'm kind of with you on this line of, well, we got to show people, we got to tell people because it gives you credibility, but then I can kind of see Joe's of, well, then only people with budgets of Super Bowl budgets are going to want me.
Yeah, and that's so I had spoken, I had an idea of doing the numbers, the way Jill sort of puts by the numbers each year or whatever, and I thought that would be sort of cool to do. And but then it showed how many jobs we did in the year, and Joe almost had a heart attack. He was just like, what? I'm not going to tell my clients that I've worked so many jobs like that. They'll feel like, oh, what does it matter? Why would I even go to Joe? I'll find my own guy. And he brought up a good point, and so we didn't publish it, but he's still sort of talking about that blog that, that I thought of creating, anyway. But so, and he's just like, people are going to do the math and they're going to figure out how much we make and blah, blah, blah. He just kind of got paranoid. So I just feel like I need to target Joe's heart first.
And I think you have to think about your target clients too. Like if in your industry it is common to be secretive, then I mean, maybe it's okay. But I mean, I'm of the share everybody, let's just be honest here, because there's other people looking at you thinking they can't possibly hire you because you work with so many big people. But then, like you said, you've got the big people looking at you thinking, why would I want to work with that person? They're working with all this lowly, like piddly clients, so you have to, I guess, think about who your target is and make sure you're talking to them and realize that, you're not your target.
Yeah. It's interesting. And I that's why I sort of understand Joe, because at the end of the day, they're all very paranoid. They're like, oh, well, Joe's helping so-and-so bring out their commercials, and that's my competition.
So if that's common in your industry, you may have to work around it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But
Yeah.
it's-
Even if I want to, and the thing is that it's only one director who does all the Super Bowl commercials we've done. It's limited for the past like 15 years. Is limited to about 2 directors, and so everybody's like, "Oh, of course, Joe is so and so's director," and it, and it just, and you're right. So you're right. I have to think about my target audience, and so if they're all kind of like looking at each other and wondering, they're not gonna want to. Yeah, and
Because I think about that with the small business clients too. Like Jenny was saying, you want to help everyone, but at the same time, if I'm working with larger businesses that have a bigger budget that I enjoy working with and that are in my target, I'll by all means take them first and make the money. And then I can work with the small businesses for free if I want to, because, that's where my heart is, but I do need to make money. So I'm actually okay with kind of selling out and making sure that I don't have any availability for the small businesses and then do their work for free or on the side or help them in a group dynamic of some sort, So it just depends on who your target is and what you want to do.
Yeah, that really helps me out because you're right. I have to think about specifically my target audience, and I have to cater to that. And they're all paranoid. They're on one job and they're thinking, "Oh my goodness, how am I going to feed my child? Next season because I don't know if I'm going to have another job. And it's all project based." So, okay, thank you so much.
Milka, you got to tell us what commercials should we watch for this year then?
It's a Bud Light commercial, and the dog comes from the dead. He's a ghost.
He comes from the
Spoiler alert.
No.
Just kidding.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not. But anyway, I have awesome pictures too to show it. And I thought I would kind of create a nice ad and behind the scenes and Joe's drawing and the actual commercial and the special effects because it's an actual dog and it's CGI. So it's just going to be cool, but I don't know.
Well, I'm having I'm having a Super Bowl party, and this is where I'm just going to be like, I know the person who did that.
Exactly. I'll probably share some photos within, because I don't think and I always want to share it. We never watch the Super Bowl. We almost never watch it.
Hopefully the Steelers will be in it this year.
I don't even know who's playing. I don't even follow football.
They won't be in it. They're playing New England on Sunday. We'll see.
I wouldn't know.
Well, guys, it's 1:11. Does anybody have any final thoughts on goals and dreams? Everybody feel good? Great. Well, thanks for. Good to see you too, Janine.
I'll pop in every now and then for happy hour and see and check in with you guys.
We'll
miss you. Yeah, I'm going to be on the sales thing. I haven't signed up for it, but I will be there too.
Yeah, we miss you. I miss you, Cassie.
I know I haven't kicked your ass in a while. I'll let you know.
I know. If you only knew what happened with my first Profit First, I used the money, the tax money, and I didn't send it. I didn't use it. Oh, it's awful.
See what happens and then I'll get a hold of you. Damn it.
Yeah, exactly. I
blame me.
It was like $6,000, and I used that money. I didn't put it to taxes. I used it a week before. I have a client who never pays me. This is the story of my life. You need to follow up with me.
That sucks.
And I have a call with Jan next week. Sorry, guys, ladies. I have a call with Jan. He's gonna hold me accountable. And
he's gonna kick your ass.
He is.
Yeah.
I love you, ladies.
Percentages, but I like it. I like that book a lot.
It's awesome.
I love it.
Follow up Profit First girl, Penny.
I agree.
Yeah.
April 21st, we're doing a webinar with her. She's building a custom workshop just for us, where we targeted the 21st one because that's the third Friday of the month. So that would be when this usually is. We're replacing it with this workshop from Jenny, where you're going to be able to take your Q1 report and know what to do with it. And know how to read it. So, yeah. Awesome. Have to make sure to watch for that one. We're building the registration stuff now. So, all right, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Sorry I was late.
Okay.
Glad you made it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.